Player-controlled choices are no stranger to video games. From the hectic moments of The Walking Dead to the galaxy-affecting options of Mass Effect, their implementation rose in popularity during the mid-2000s and have permeated the gaming scene ever since. While it does tend to add replayability to a game if done incorrectly, it can lead to a sense of futility. If the choice doesn't affect the main storyline or feels unnecessary, it can create problems, which is why it pains me to see how Capcom ended up deciding how to implement said mechanic into one of the best games of the year, Resident Evil 7. To recap, Resident Evil 7 has you stepping into the shoes of Ethan Winters on the search for his wife Mia after a 3-year disappearance. Contacted by Mia herself, Ethan sets off for the swamps of Louisiana and is caught in a whirlwind of confusion. Mia suffers from amnesia and is seemingly possessed. He's taken hostage by a twisted family known as the Bakers, and it's your job to find a way out of their large estate. Throughout your journey, you'll encounter mold-like creatures, a creepy ghost-like child named Evelyn, and are assisted by the daughter of the Baker family, Zoe, via telephone. You're tasked with finding a cure for the infection that's taken hold of the family and Mia before finding a way to leave unharmed. Once the ingredients are found, it's revealed that only 2 serums were possible with the amount gathered, and once one of those is used to finish off the father for good, the game leaves you with a dilemma.
There's only one left. There can't just be one left. What the hell are we gonna do now?
Having to choose between Mia and Zoe seems promising. I initially believed you'd end up playing the rest of the game with whoever survived or ended up switching perspectives like Resident Evil 4's Ashley section. While not ideal, I even thought there was going to be a dreaded escort mission. It turns out I was wrong on both accounts because if the player cures Mia, you leave Zoe to her inevitable fate and the two of you end up going up the bayou by boat. Eventually finding yourself face to face with a shipwrecked tanker, your boat is halted by an unseen presence before being knocked off and falling into the river. You'll awaken to find yourself playing from Mia's perspective, leading to Ethan's eventual capture by that same substance. You slowly trudge your way through the derelict tanker, experiencing momentary flashbacks of the ship's crew members before their deaths, eventually reaching a room where Evelyn opens Mia's mind to her past. It turns out Mia was an undercover agent working for an organization called Tensu, a rival to the series' primary antagonist Umbrella Corps. She was on the tanker delivering Evelyn, who turns out to be a genetically modified bioweapon, to an isolated location when she got out of control, killed the crew, and beached the tanker on the Baker estate, leading the family to take them both in and become slowly corrupted by Evelyn's virus. After this realization, she rescues Ethan, pushes him out of the tanker to save him from her forced transformation, and from there on you play as Ethan for the remainder of the game. The tanker is a creepy, albeit repetitive section of the game. It could have been handled better, but all in all, I was genuinely surprised by this change of perspective. It gives the player time to connect to Mia, which was somewhat difficult to do when she was trying to kill you. Stepping into her shoes gives you time to appreciate what her job expected her to do and how easily it could and did go wrong. Were it not for this section, I probably would have thought nothing of Mia as a character. If you give Zoe the cure instead, the two of you head up the bayou and she gives you information about Mia, the tanker, and her family ahead of time instead of finding out in person. Your boat stops on cue, Zoe begins to beg for her life before she's killed unceremoniously, and then it switches perspective to Mia for the rest of the section, with no explanation as to how she got there, causing the choice in question to become utterly meaningless because nothing was changed. If Mia somehow arrived with the tanker despite being left on the pier, then what was the point of having the player decide? Choice-based mechanics, when done correctly, are there for the player to have the illusion of making a difference in the game's universe. Video games must adhere to rules and restrictions, which means all choices are scripted by the developers. Despite what a game's box cover may tell you, you do not have endless choices to make. One only needs to look back at the Mass Effect 3 ending debacle to see how poorly one can execute this mechanic. Yet while that game's flaws are tied to the lack of impact of previously made choices, Resident Evil 7's problem stems from the single use of this mechanic. There is no other section of this game that has you make such a decision, meaning that the inclusion of the said choice must have a great impact on the narrative, otherwise it serves no purpose. And since Mia ends up becoming the main focal point of the tanker sequence, it makes no logical sense to have this mechanic to be included at all. This type of decision making is usually left for an endgame moment, seen in titles such as Infamous, Deus Ex, and any BioWare game. The reason for its inclusion is for it to end on a way for the player to have their own impact on the game. Two friends can have a near identical experience, but opposite choices spark discussion. And one might bring up the fact that based on their decision, Mia is either alive or dead at the game's conclusion, yet it's not an ending that flows naturally from the choice made because Mia is forced into a life and death scenario by appearing at the tanker for no reason whatsoever. You do not have your player decide on the lives of characters they're supposed to relate to, and then undercut it by telling them that it wasn't necessary in the slightest. Which leads me to talk about the missed opportunities. See, when I made the decision the first time around, I chose Zoe. Now I understand from a narrative point of view why Mia is the right choice. Ethan went to Louisiana to find her, they were married, and he knows she's not doing any violent action of her own accord. However, I, the player, don't have that connection. Mia throughout the entire game has given me no reason to trust her. From her first appearance, she specifically mentions lying to Ethan about a majorly important issue.
You were right. I did lie to you. I shouldn't have.
Her story doesn't add up on multiple occasions, such as when asked about why she contacted him despite apparently not doing so.
Mia, we have to talk. That message you sent me.
Not me. That wasn't me.
But you did.
I didn't.
Okay, fine. Just tell me what's going on.
I'm telling you everything that I know.
Her violent tirades, controlled or not, are not explained and understood by that point in the game. Until we get to the tanker sequence, we have no reason to trust her other than the narrative telling us that we should. Hell, even when we do find out what she was doing, it turns out she was helping smuggle bioweapons. So when I found out my choice was, by the developer's actions, rendered useless, I was hurt. Now imagine this, if Zoe was chosen, instead of killing her as soon as you reached the tanker, she should have been the one that was kidnapped, leading Ethan to go through the tanker section. The flashback still would have worked, as it's well established that anyone who sees Evelyn is infected. Evelyn would still be waiting on the third floor room, and the tape, played from Mia's perspective, would continue exactly as planned. Ethan would make his way down to the sub-basement where Zoe would be kept in the alien-inspired goo, and the two of them would be stopped by Evelyn. Mia could appear for one final hurrah, seeing as her appearance was confusing if you chose Zoe anyway, pushing Ethan and Zoe out of the tanker, and Zoe escapes into the woods. This would technically still be considered the bad ending, but seeing as Zoe was a key part of the incident and has detailed knowledge of her family, she could still be useful to Umbrella. Details such as the Jack Baker dream sequence would still happen, but would be right after being knocked off the boat, and then switches Zoe for his wife. Of course, this is a rough outline of a proposed idea and would need some fine tuning to make it seem a little less forced, but I hope you get the idea I'm trying to get across. Throughout this entire crazy journey, Zoe has consistently given me reasons not only to trust her, but to believe she's doing this for all the right reasons. Even if you did believe her to be up to no good, the fact that she's proved not to be involved in any devious plot should have been enough to not warrant her death. Zoe should have been given the opportunity to survive this game, and the fact that we must choose Mia solely because the narrative believes it to be the right decision misses the point of choice-based mechanics. However, Resident Evil 7, despite this shortcoming, is still a finely tuned experience. Capcom listened to the fanbase, and while I enjoy Resident Evil 6 as a piece of high quality schlock, this is what the fans really wanted. Going into Resident Evil 8, Capcom is an uphill battle. They have to prove that 7 wasn't just a one-hit wonder and do the same thing that they did with Resident Evil 2. They need to expand the experience, polish the mechanics even further, delve deeper into the lore, and avoid the mistakes that they did this time, both mechanically and narrative-wise. If there's a choice to be made, like Resident Evil 7, that choice must be meaningful. If they want to follow AAA trends, it's time to go big or go home. Now, I usually don't do this type of thing, it's a little unscripted, but I just want to say thank you so much to everyone who subscribed to this channel and making me reach 500 subscribers. While I know that doesn't seem like a lot to many other people who have like millions and millions of subscribers, it means a lot to me. The fact that 500 people are paying attention to what I have to say is it just blows my mind. I just want to say thank you one more time, and I hope you enjoy what I have to offer in the future.